Brian Wilson, the frontman and co-founder of the Beach Boys, has died at the age of 82. Tributes have poured in for the man who created some of rock's most memorable songs, including Good Vibrations, I Get Around and God Only Knows. Wilson was one of the biggest names in pop music and one of the most significant songwriters of the 20th century. Jason Hanley is Vice President of Education at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland, Ohio, and he joins me now. Welcome, thank you very much for joining us. Now, he was known for revolutionising pop music for an entire generation. How large was his impact?
Yeah, what an amazing musician and songwriter. It's very sad to think of Brian, leaving us, but knowing how good those songs all make us feel. He was a musician with the Beach Boys who started with songs like we heard, Surfin USA, Surfin Safari, songs about hot rods, Little Deuce Coupe. But he also was a true genius. And I don't use that word often, but it really was somebody who thought about new ways of making rock and roll. And he revolutionized both it in terms of harmony, production, recording, and even just the way songwriters in rock and roll thought about the craft of songwriting itself.
Now, you aren't the only person to refer to Brian as a genius. What is it that made him just so special?
I think it was the fact that Brian Wilson could hear and envision things about music that hadn't been created before. There are many great musicians who are able to take things in that they've heard and alter it and maybe come up with something new. Brian was literally able to create things almost out of thin air. You think about a song like Good Vibrations. He recorded thousands of hours of music and carefully put it together, editing it and combining it, layering it on top of each other to create sounds that we've never heard of before. I mean, that song has a full kind of orchestral background, a rock band, vocal harmony, and even an electronic instrument called the theremin in it. And I don't know that many people could picture that in their mind and then turn it into a reality. And that's really what Brian Wilson had the ability to do. And they were also just great pop rock and roll songs that we still sing along with today.
Now, tell us a bit about his life. There was obviously some struggles, but also some huge achievements. There were some comebacks. Just give us an idea about his life.
Yeah, it mentioned it in the story you just played before. Brian, struggled with mental health throughout his life. He was somebody who, unfortunately, his drug use affected him very negatively. And he continually had to struggle with that. But at the same time, he always found a way to come back to music. And I think that's the story that I think is the most important, that he returned to the songs that he loved. He continued to write new music. If anybody in your audience was out there, as I did, and saw him just even a number of years ago when his health was clearly failing, when he got on stage, the music really connected him with the fans that were in the audience. And again, I think, someone like Brian Wilson, he was inducted with the Beach Boys in the third year of inductions at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. That's still a pretty elite class. It was the same year the Beatles were inducted. And again, if you think about an artist who revolutionized music and pushed it in a new direction, Brian is one of the few people in that area who really, really changed things for musicians around the world.
Now, he's had a whole list of achievements, but what do you think will be his legacy?
I think the songs. I think even just hearing today, everybody at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, we played his music and the music of the Beach Boys throughout the museum today. And each and every song that came on, people started smiling and they started singing along with it. And I think when you think of those classic Beach Boys songs, you think of warm summers, beautiful nights, friendship, and love. And I think that's the legacy that we'll all continue to carry on. Even if Brian is no longer here, his music stays with all of us far, far, far into the future.